Let's move on to the fourth email today. And the fourth email today comes to us from Christian Tyler, who writes, I was bummed out when they canceled Daredevil, but at the same time, I was pretty excited that we could see a new version of him in the MCU soon. Now I just read on Variety that it's going to take years before Disney and Marvel are even allowed to use any version of the character. At this point, how long do you think we're going to have to wait to see the Defenders on the screen again? All right, thanks a lot for the email, Christian. And for those of you who are wondering, maybe you haven't heard about this, you're wondering what exactly Christian's talking about. Variety did this story about, the Defenders and the state of the Defenders. And we've known for a while that we're not just going to see them pop up and the shows are probably done. But Variety went one step further. And in their story, they talk about the actual circumstances surrounding it and what some details of this thing. Here's what the Variety article had to say here. The Variety article wrote this. Sources tell Variety that the deal for the original 4 Marvel shows includes a clause that prevents the characters, not just these shows, but the characters from appearing in any non-Netflix series or film for at least 2 years after cancellation. That means that Daredevil, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, which were all canceled at Netflix this year, could not come to the Disney streaming service until 2020 at the earliest, and that would be late 2020, probably more like 2021. The chances of the shows returning either on their own or as a new installment of the Defenders is definitely a long shot. So we're starting to see a little bit more of the details emerging here about what can and cannot happen. It seems to me, reading this statement, Greg, that not only can Marvel not just import the show that Netflix had, but they can't even create a new rendition of Daredevil or Luke Cage. At least, realistically, it's 2021 because of how late in the year it is. To at least 2021. What was your reaction when you're reading this and you're hearing about this?
It makes sense to me. I'm bummed about it. Because you think about Jessica Jones, which is most likely going to get canceled too.
Yeah,
that pushes it
in
even.
January.
Yeah, I don't think Punisher's included in part of this 4 Marvel show quadrant.
You're absolutely right.
But Jessica Jones, that hasn't even debuted yet. The next season, so that's good. That's even later. You know? Like these 3 shows have probably, like you're saying, until 2021. But Jessica Jones is probably going to be even later than that because that hasn't even debuted yet, and the Punisher's kind of in confusing terrain. I don't know what they will do with it. I feel like if they were, I think the only one that could come back after several years with the same cast and everything that people would genuinely be still excited about, because I watched all the shows.
Right.
I even liked Iron Fist season 2. I really liked Luke Cage season 2. But I think Daredevil would be the only one that has a shot with the same returning crew and cast members behind it, especially Charlie Cox. But I feel like by the time you get to 2-3 years from now, if you were to bring back Mike Coulter and Finn Jones, I don't know if people would be like, yay, Because I wanted a Heroes for Hire.
Back tomorrow that people would be saying.
Yeah, exactly.
To be honest with you,
I feel like if you brought back a Heroes for Hire with Luke Cage and Iron Fist after several years, I think that would get them excited. But I think if you were to bring back a solo, Daredevil will be the one that people will be excited about still. I personally don't think these Netflix Marvel shows to transition to the Disney streaming service would work because they're so hard R.
Yeah,
like the violence in them is very R-rated, and there's some sexual scenes as well. That's like you don't really see a lot of graphic stuff, but it's very heavily there.
Heavily implied and suggested.
Yeah, it's like you just don't see like a nipple area or something like that. But other than that, it's still very hard R, and I don't think Disney would take that on. And I think if you were to PG-13 it would just push away the fans who were already fans of the show.
Yeah,
it's like you won't be able to win. I think if you were to do the Defenders again, any of these 4 characters, you would have to ultimately reboot it if you're going to put it on the Disney streaming service. I personally like to see Wilson Fisk in the movies. Out of any of them, Daredevil and Wilson Fisk, I think
D'Onofrio is so good in that role.
Wilson Fisk is such a big Spider-Man villain. I would love to see them go up against each other. It would be so fun to watch.
And here's the other thing too, is I'm not even sure that the deal would even allow Marvel to take the existing properties as they are and move them over. But I'm going to tell you what, though, if you're a fan of Daredevil and all this stuff, I'm going to say this isn't actually that big of a deal, and here's why. Because when you're looking at, okay, so you're talking maybe early 2021, that if Marvel wants to use Daredevil in the MCU and create a new incarnation, whatever, 2021, okay, that seems like going to turn you away. But the reality is this, I think. Kevin Feige, I believe he's already got the MCU programmed up to 2021.
Oh,
like
yeah.
at this point, even if I think the Netflix deal allowed them to use these characters now, whenever they wanted to use, I still don't think we would have seen these guys pop up at least until 2021, because Kevin Feige seems to make his plans.
Okay.
He sticks with his plans. He doesn't, react to different things happening. Like a lot of people thought that once this Fox deal with Marvel or with Disney is finalized,
I gotta throw the X-Men in here as soon as possible.
yeah, boom,
yeah.
that Magneto's going to show up. It's like, no, that's not the way. Have you met Kevin Feige? That is not the way Kevin Feige operates.
Yeah.
He's never been reactionary to this stuff, right? He's got his plan, he'll stick to it. So while it does give a little pang in my heart when I hear about, we're not going to see Daredevil for at least like 2 or 3 more years, the reality is we probably weren't going to see him for 2 or 3 years anyway.
Okay.
So I'm not going to get too worked up about it at this
You mean
point.
even without the contract clauses and all that
Yeah.
being here, you'd still think it would be quite a while?
I
2
still
years.
think it would be a
Okay.
while before Kevin Feige decided to work him in.
Okay, yeah. No, yeah, I agree with you there. Like, this doesn't really change my opinion on that. Yeah.
Although one person on my chat did make an interesting suggestion. I think they said they might have been talking about Daredevil, that Daredevil could have been a character you added in as a secondary character in a Black Widow movie. And I went, oh, actually, that's not a bad idea, but it looks like that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
So
yeah.